Hi, Scott Messina here. Welcome to the Messina Connection, where we cover sports, music, people, and a little bit of politics. Can you handle the conversation? Welcome to the Messina Connection. I am Scott Messina, and I am here with the one and only, the man himself, Mr. Desmond Meade. He has been on the cover of Time magazine, and we're going to get into everything. He is, we got into a conversation last week, and I said, this is just too good not to film. So he was gracious enough to come back up here today, and you don't live too far from me. So he came to the Eye Showcase Studios, and here we are, buddy. How are you?
Listen, I'm great, Scott. I must be a pain for you, right? I came back for more. But no, I enjoyed our conversation.
You came back for more. I'm enduring more.
All right.
No. You have some really valid points, and the whole thing with the Messina Connections. You know, we do Messina Connection. We do a little bit of politics, music, sports, and all that. But this is mostly about politics. This is about your story, and I'm trying to do, even if it's something little, something to bring people together, man.
Yep. Well, guess what? Then you said it right, because if you're going to do politics, then you might as well include music and sports, because guess what? Those two things actually bring people together. Right? And there's so much connection between music, sports, and politics, man, you wouldn't believe it. So it's going to get in somewhere or another. Either you're going to bring it in, or I'm going to bring it in.
No, we already there. We could bring in, and that's the beauty. We both very much appreciate our First Amendment right. There is no censorship. We say what we say. We believe what we believe. Stand for something or fall for anything.
That's right.
You know, your viewpoints are a little bit different than mine. My viewpoints are a little bit different than yours. But what I noticed in our first conversation was we were a little bit more in the center and more together than most people.
What? Man, let me tell you, I was hanging out with my friend on the lake 2 days ago, and that was the very same thing that he said. He was like, you know, and it was, I guess he was just expressing a little frustration of some politicians that we have today.
Sure.
Right? And saying that, you know, these politicians, they get us engaged in these wars, these identity wars, and they prevent us from even realizing that we agree on 90% of the stuff, right? But they have us focus on the 10%, 15% that we are just totally opposite, and that's where the war is at, right? And we forget about the 90% that we pretty much cool with, right?
I think post-COVID, I mean, legacy media has done no justice. And I think post-COVID it got worse. And I think the race baiting on both sides. I think weaponizing race, weaponizing the law, weaponizing. I mean, I'll go right in. I'll go right in and I'll go deep. It's not good for our country. And I feel that we need to do something. People need to, you know, I don't care if you're black, white, yellow, red, rainbow. I don't care. Live your life. Live your best life. But at the end of the day, I do like the color green.
Well, I tell you, that is a good color. Yeah, I love it.
That's a good color.
And I hate getting rid of it too. You know,
I hate to lose the color green.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus.
Wait, speaking
Lord.
of that, now we got Martians. Martians getting ready to come. What in the next 100 days? Have you been reading that?
No.
I'm gonna
really?
go squirrel on you. I know you can hang, but yeah, there's some alien ship or astro. I don't know what.
Oh my God.
Read up on that. It's crazy. Anyway, back to business, man. Do me a favor. Just tell our viewers and basically who you are, what you stand for. Tell us a little bit about your history.
So listen, a lot of times, especially in the past, when I'm talking to folks, I always start with my story, and I always start in August of 2005. I remember it was a hot and humid day in South Florida, Dade County. And, you know, if you're from Florida, you know about that heat and humidity, especially in August, right? I mean, I tell folks, man, it was so hot that I seen the dog chasing the cat and they were both walking, right? That's how hot it was. But for a few moments, I was actually able to block out that heat and humidity, because that day I found myself standing in front of railroad tracks, waiting on a train to come so I can jump in front of it.
Man,
right? And I stood there, Scott, a broken man. I was addicted to drugs. I was homeless. I didn't have a job. I was recently released from prison, and the only thing I owned were the clothes on my back. And I remember thinking about how I was a failure and how I was a huge disappointment to my family. And I didn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And so I was ready to end my life. And I stood there. You know what the most predominant thing that was going through my head at the time? How much pain I was going to feel when the train hit me. Whether I was going to die instantly or whether I was going to have to go through moments of agonizing pain and trying to figure out, well, how should I throw myself?
What if you live?
You know, I couldn't even fathom that because I'm thinking about this train crushing my body or crushing my neck. What's the best way where I don't have to go through this pain? But I wouldn't move. And let me tell you, I'm a wimp. I'm scared of needles, Scott.
I hate getting a cold.
You know what I'm saying? I'm scared of needles.
Yeah.
But yet the thought of the pain that I was going to have to feel was not enough to make me move. And I stood there and I waited, Scott. And it was one of the busiest railroad tracks in Dade County because it led to the Port of Miami and to the produce section, right? But for some reason that day, that train didn't come, bro. And I ended up eventually walking across the tracks, and then about 3 blocks further was this place called Central Intake, where I was able to go, and they was able to put me in a drug treatment program, an in-house drug treatment program for 4 months. And I completed that, man. And after I completed that, I moved back into a homeless shelter. And I said back into because, man, I've been homeless for a total of about 10 years. So I was previously on the streets where I was homeless. And so here I am back in this shelter again, giving it another go-round. And while there, I made this decision. Now, like, you know, I don't have another relapse in me. I don't think I can use drugs again because if I get in before railroad tracks again, this time I might not be as lucky. Yeah. And so I was trying to think, what can I do to help me not relapse or use drugs again? And I was like, you know what, let me go to school and get an education and of course work my steps. You know, I was a member of, still a member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I did that because I'm really a drug addict, but Alcoholics Anonymous was the answer for me. Yeah. And let me tell you, bro,
those 12 steps.
Those 12 steps was something special. And anyway, so I end up going back to school, and bro, let me tell you, I got about 3-4 degrees, and eventually I ended up getting accepted into law school. And in May of 2014, I graduated with a Juris Doctorate degree from Florida International University College of Law. Dang. That's what I say.
Dr. Desmond.
The doctor,
Dr. Desmond.
I always tell folks, back then I used to tell them I had 2 doctors. You know, I had a doctor of law and a doctor of the streets. Now I have 4 doctors.
I'm a doctor of love. I'm a doctor of love and music.
I'm a doctor of love too, man. I'm at the share.
Give yourself 3, man. Give yourself 3 for sure.
But
that's
yeah,
funny.
so I always start with that.
No, that's not funny. Actually, but you did good. Yeah. You persevered. You know, the world needed you because look, you know, and now we're going to get into look how much you've done since then. I mean, you know, if you can't brush off the past, you know, the past is yesterday. All we have now is the present. Some people say, don't even worry about tomorrow. I'm like, no, are you kidding me? I love thinking about tomorrow. I wake up every morning with a prayer of thanks, of gratitude.
Of gratitude.
People just want more and more and more. And I'm not sitting here with a halo on my head by no means.
Oh, but I definitely know that.
Yeah. Oh, why you gotta say that?
I definitely know.
Why you say that?
You know, listen. We can pretty it up all we want and get the nice clothes, but at the end of the day, you know what? I think all of us have fallen short in some form or fashion, right? That none of us is perfect, right? And that we've made mistakes along the way.
Well, if Jesus didn't die for all our sins, brother, everybody is in trouble. Yeah. Everybody's going to be in a tough.
And even Jesus got a little gangster.
Let me tell you. People are like, oh, he, you know, and I'm not getting into it. We can, whatever. But dude, he hung out. Mary Magdalene's. He hung out with the.
What?
Go ahead, preach. He never, you know, Rome, and he just wanted to live with the vagrants, or at least learn from them and listen to them and talk to them. I don't know, man.
Go ahead, Reb.
I have a thing,
I can
man.
see televangelist.
I'm born and raised Catholic.
Reincarnated.
I'm born and raised Catholic, man. Confirmed and all.
Catholic is not bringing that fire like that.
I'm telling you. But I'm like, man, it's you know, when people say God, you don't know what God they're talking about. So I got to hear the words Lord Jesus Christ for me. That's just me. But at the end of the day, I you know, I have another show called Beyond the Tattoo, and I don't judge, everybody with tattoos, no problem at all. Everybody's got a story. And those tattoos, whether it's pain, whether it's happy, whether they tell the story. But there's some cats on that show, man, that I'm like, wow. And I had talks with them all the time. Like we are talking. And my common goal is to communicate. One of them has their eyeballs tattooed black. And I'm like, hey man, my goal is to make him see the light in some form or fashion. So I was doing this interview real quick, and all of a sudden I said, Johnny, man, I said, look, and I had the camera on him, and he's the first sentence out of his mouth, and I swear to you, lightning and thunder struck like you would never believe. And he just looked at me and was like, yep. And I'm like, this is real, there is another side to this, and if we could just let some people see the light.
Let's talk about this for a minute, right? You want to mention Jesus Christ and who he was hanging out with, right? He was hanging out with some unsavory folks that society cast aside, right? And in the work that I do, right, because I went on to actually lead an effort to change the Constitution in Florida, to where now people with felony convictions, once they serve their time, can be a part of our democracy again, right?
Which is Amendment 4
back in 2018.
2018.
Yeah, don't confuse it with the other amendments.
No, because I was really starting to study it. That was yours.
That was mine. That was the vision that I had, and I led it from start to finish.
And the people that can't vote are the rapists and the murderers.
No,
is what it said.
It excluded the rapists and excluded it excluded folks with felony sexual offenses. So it was rape, maybe child molestation, things of that nature, and then of course murder. But everyone else, once they complete their sentence, they get a second chance. They get the ability restored. So if they want to participate in democracy, they have that opportunity. But let me get back to what I was saying, though, right? One of the things that I talk about so much is that people who have made mistakes in life, right, I think are the biggest assets to our society. People who may have gotten arrested, people who have maybe even done some time and gotten convicted, they're the ones actually that's the key to transforming our communities and our country, believe it or not. And then I always point back to the Bible, that God always uses the least among a group of people to bring about the biggest change, right? If you want to talk about Moses committed murder, right? If you want to talk about Paul, right? Great Paul, before his name was Paul, his name was Saul. And Saul was public enemy number 1.
Yeah, he was.
Right? And so when I look at that, and then I look at the fact that Jesus had really about 2 or 3 simple things that really he stuck with. His through line was, number 1, what you do to the least among you is what you do to me, right? If you love me, you feed my lamb. If you love me, you feed my sheep, right? And then all of a sudden, of course, do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Sure.
And so I take all of that, and I know that, man, wait a minute. I remember when I was on the street homeless, right? And I was hooked on drugs, right? I remember how I felt. And I remember how I looked down on people like that even before I got hooked on drugs, right? And I realized today that, man, that's another human being. And we need to be able to treat another human being with dignity and respect, especially if you claim any type of faith, right? If you're a Christian, or if you're Jewish, or even if you're Muslim, at the core of all of those religions is this concept of forgiveness, redemption, and restoration, which means that you have got to show yourself, right? And if you're really a true believer, that means that you're going to somehow or another have love for the least among you. You're going to have some kind of compassion. Your heart is going to hurt to see a homeless person on the street, or a woman being trafficked for sex, or a child being molested, or you're going to hurt, right, when you see the destruction that's around you, and you're going to want to do something about it.
If you have no soul, right? But you just made my argument. It doesn't start
with hatred. It starts with love.
With love.
It starts with love.
But you just made my argument. Look at the people God put in power. You're talking about Saul and that kind of stuff. God put in power over the course of history, right? Don't you think that's why Trump's in charge? Boom.
Listen,
boom.
I can't.
Boom.
Listen.
I'm trying to say an imperfect person.
But let me tell you something. The best thing that could come out of that is the fact that now people could start rethinking, right, how we're looking at people that make mistakes, right? Because
I love that.
Listen,
I love that.
Because back in August of 2005, if you would have told me, like I tell people, when I was standing there in front of the railroad tracks, if somebody would have approached me and said, Desmond, don't jump, because in a few years, man, you're gonna be going to college and you're gonna be having these degrees and you're gonna be sitting in meetings with mayors and commissioners and you're gonna be meeting with judges and district attorneys or state attorneys.
You don't know the future.
Don't jump. Right. Don't jump, Desmond, because guess what? In a few years, Time Magazine is gonna name you one of the 100 most influential people, not in the state, but in the world, bro. In the world. And I remember when I found that out, I was like, wait a minute, there's more than 100 countries in the world, right? And here I am, one of the 100 most influential, right? And they say, Desmond, don't jump because you're going to be named a genius. Matter of fact, Desmond, I promise you, if you don't jump, you're going to be nominated, or your organization is going to be nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Now, if somebody would have told me all that when I was standing in front of those railroad tracks, I would have put them in the headlock, and they'd have to take me to that dope hole. Wherever they got them drugs they were smoking, they would have to take me there.
Sure.
Because there's no way that you can make me believe that a person who is homeless, who's been in prison, who's been on drugs, could actually have his life transformed that much. You could never convince me prior to Donald Trump becoming the president of the United States that a person with a felony conviction can actually be president of the United States. And so his victory ripped that veil away and say that even if you made a mistake in life, no one has to look at you as trash for the rest of your life, that you can overcome that. You can overcome a felony conviction and be even president of the United States of America.
But see, you're
so that means I could be president.
You're thinking big. You're thinking big. A lot of people don't think that way, though. A lot of people just want to keep throwing stones. They want to
call a person the F word.
The arrogance. The arrogance. And how people look down. You mentioned this a moment ago, just to circle back. How people look down at others, and I'm even guilty of doing it sometimes, because to me, it's not politics as much as it is common sense. Common sense. I have a problem with lack of common sense. Oh well, that's just a student. That's just a this. That's just a that. No, it's not. It's right from wrong. Well, black, white.
I don't.
It's cut and dry common sense, bro.
So here's the thing, right? I don't have a problem with ignorance because everybody knows to know everything.
Right.
Nobody knows everything, right? But what I do have a problem with, all right, and this has been a theme in the work that we do. I think since the formation of this country, there's always been a small group of politicians that want to dictate who gets to vote for them. Right? There's always been a small group of politicians that have been very manipulative. And you get it on both sides, bro. You get it on both. Right now we're witnessing the Cold War of hyper-partisan politics.
No, even Honest Abe wasn't as honest as you think.
Listen, okay, right? And so the thing is, but here's the whole thing, right? Is that you can have a small group of politicians that would get us to actually fight and go at each other's throats and not seeing what's right there in front of us. Right? And what's right there in front of us, man, is that there is deep in our heart a desire, right, to be a part of a community where people care for each other, respect each other's liberties, right, and actually celebrate each other's success, right? And then when we make mistakes, we have forgiving spirits and hearts, and we don't cancel anybody out because they said the wrong thing or did the wrong thing, right? That we're like, wait a minute, no, that's still a human being, and he's still redeemable, right? That don't mean, listen.
But the deep state prevents all that.
Well, you know what? Whatever that deep state is, maybe it is. I don't know.
Why is division so much more powerful than togetherness?
Well, I don't think it's more powerful. I don't think it's more powerful. I think.
Why does it? Let me rephrase that question. why does it take a 9/11 to bring in a disaster?
There you go.
To bring everyone together.
I've been asking that question. I've been asking that question, right? Because I know right now, Scott, is that if you're traveling down I-4 right now and you see an accident on the side of the street and there's somebody laying there on the ground and you decide to stop and help and you get out your car and you run up to that person, I promise you, Scott, your first question is not going to be, did you vote for Donald Trump?
No.
Oh, it's not going to be, what's your sexual identity?
No.
It's not going to be, what's your immigration status?
But the problem with that is...
But you know what it's going to be? Are you okay, or how can I help? And this is what I'm saying, is that it's in moments of calamity that we actually connect with each other above partisan politics and implicit and explicit biases, and we unite along the lines of humanity. And that was what my campaign, Amendment 4 campaign in 2018, that's what it was all about. How do we take something that we can all agree on, some values that we all agree on, and elevate it above the things that try to separate us as people? And instead of scaring people to vote or threatening people to vote, how about we encourage people to be a part of something greater?
I like that.
Right?
But to go back to your guy scenario, the person on the side of the street.
Yeah.
In today's age, yes, innately, you want to help, you want to make sure they're all right. But the reality is, if I help this guy, am I going to get sued?
No.
Whether right or wrong.
Scott, no.
No. That's how people think.
Not in that moment. That's like
I wouldn't do it.
Let me show you.
I mean, I would
collapse at Surfside. When that building collapsed, right? Let me tell you something. There were so many first responders and so many other folks
down in Miami.
That went to find those people. And you know what? Let me tell you something about calamity. We actually put our own lives in danger to rescue the life of a stranger. We see it every day across this country. And so don't tell me about people stopping to think about what their benefit is. We actually, that's the ultimate.
Not the benefit, the repercussion.
But we don't even think of that, right? And then here's the thing. What happens is that there is this just transformation, right, that allows us to engage in the ultimate sacrifice, which is the ultimate form of love, is the willingness to give one's life for someone else, right? And we do that for a stranger, right? That we don't even know their politics. And so the question is, man, if we're willing to put our life on the line for a stranger, then why are we letting these petty 10% differences tear us apart? Wake up every day scared of our neighbor, afraid of our neighbor. Come on, bro, because at the end of the day, if your house is on fire and the fireman's coming, you're not going to stop him at the door and say, let me see your voter registration card. Make sure that you're not one of those.
Or your neighbor's house is on fire. You're going to go in there and drag them out.
You doggone right you are. And that is what makes America great. That is what makes, not the politics. Screw the politics. Right? What makes us great is in the moments where we can come together as humanity and have each other's back. That is it.
And on that note, we'll be right back. Welcome back to the Messina Connection. I am here with Desmond Meade. So, you were talking about Amendment 4. You were talking about in 2018 how you worked so hard to get that passed. Now, there's conflicting, like, you and DeSantis have been at it a little bit, and I was confused because the amendment had passed. We already talked about all that. But then DeSantis was trying to you know, he had something to say. So explain.
So I don't know if we could actually say that me and DeSantis have been. I don't think we have. You know.
Well, I don't know. You were trying something, and he shoot it down.
You know, when we passed Amendment 4, you know, the greatest thing that I tell folks about Amendment 4 was that we actually showed the world that love can, in fact, win the day. Right.
Indeed.
That we didn't organize around hate or fear. We actually organized around love.
And that's why I like it.
And like when you see my shirt say "Let my people vote," when I'm traveling, people say, "Who are your people?" Right? And sometimes, what would you think? Well, who my people are? You know, Democrats or what? Blacks or what? People who've been locked up. The reality is that when I say "Let my people vote," when you see that, what it means is my people is anyone who you love, who's ever made a mistake. That's who my people are, right? And so what happened is that across this state, we talked to people, whether they were Republicans, Independents, or Democrats, and we asked them a simple question. Has anyone who you love ever made a mistake? And you know what? Almost everyone said yes. And let me tell you what happened.
Who would say no?
One did.
No, seriously, no, for real.
Let me tell you.
No, give me the demographic of that person. Give me the demographic.
No, I'm gonna give you. You ready? So,
go.
My always spill always been, I don't care what part of the state I go to. And let me tell you, by the way, we polled in the supermajority from start to finish, right? In every media market in the state of Florida, and in every district, representative district, we won. We had the majority of votes there, right? Over 5.1 million people voted yes. Matter of fact, that was more people voted for Amendment 4 than even for the governor of the state of Florida, right?
Not
more
this last time?
No, when we passed Amendment 4, that was the race between DeSantis and Gillum.
Yeah, he only won by less than 1%.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. When you add the total amount of votes that DeSantis got, it was way less than the amount of votes that we got to pass it. And over 1 million Republicans voted for that amendment, all right? But let me tell you, so I'm giving you the highlights, but let me reel you back. No matter what media market I went in, the message never changed. And that was unheard of in Florida. You got to have a message for South Florida, North Florida, and then one for Central Florida. That's just the nature of the beast in the political game. But because we elevated above it, our message was the same across. And it was, do you know somebody who you love who's ever made a mistake? And they would say yes. I said, do you think that they should have a second chance? Yes, we believe in second chances. And that was the name of our campaign, Second Chance Campaign. And everywhere I went, I talked to people about it, and I'd never lose except twice. Once in a biker bar in Melbourne, right? And once at the Jacksonville Jaguar tailgate party in Jacksonville, Florida, right? And let me tell you the demographic. The one guy, right, I walk up to him, and first thing he said was, I just want to let you know that I'm voting for Trump. And I was like, congratulations, hey, that's good. I'm happy that you're voting. It's cool. And I said, but let me ask you something, sir. Do you know somebody who you love who's ever made a mistake? And he said, yep, my son. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I got him. I got him. I said, well, don't you want your son to have a second chance to be able to vote? This guy says, hell no. That MF is too damn stupid. I don't ever want him voting.
Damn, why would you say that about your other son? But that's funny.
Hey, and I shook his hand and I thanked him for his time. But I left. Right. If he don't even want his own son to vote, then why even talk to him about second chances? That's right. And the other one was a Latino pastor that was in a biker bar. Now, what the hell was he doing in the biker bar? I don't know. But he was there.
We ain't judging.
But everybody else, in the years that I've traveled this state from Key West to Pensacola and all parts in between, for Myers, I've been to Trump rallies, the whole 9 yards. And I've never had anyone say no to what we were trying to do other than those two people in years. Okay. So I understand, right, the power of what we were doing. I understand how that approach can still transform this state, right? Because we got a lot of work to do here in the state of Florida, right? And I know that if love could win the day back in 2018, it could win the day today. It could win the day in 2026.
Every state needs work on the state level, but there is a reason Florida is the best state in the country. On the real estate side of things, brother, there is a reason everybody is moving here. I mean, and if you really think about it, Miami's really interesting. We talked about Dade a couple times.
Though.
I mean, dude,
that's
Silicon Valley,
they're one of the worst and the rates to insurance rates.
But Wall Street, Wall Street and Silicon Valley are coming down. They got the money to pay.
But guess what though? That's the problem though.
Yeah, that's the
problem.
Because
the majority of the people that live in Florida don't have Wall Street money, bro.
Right. It's not just Star Island. It's going to be a Star.
I'm not getting excited because a bunch of billionaires can move to Florida. You know what can get me excited? That a bunch of people in trailer parks can have a good way of life.
Amen.
That's what gets me excited.
But look at this.
Not about the billionaires.
But look at
this.
You
talk to me about the guys who still have the blue thing tarp over their roof.
Yeah.
Right from the hurricane over a year ago. Right.
Oh,
getting that stuff fixed is what gets me excited.
Yeah.
So don't tell me about the real estate market. Tell me about the recovery market.
Well, why are so many people moving from California?
Listen,
it's real.
Listen, that's
Do we really want our country to be like California?
We're not in California. You know what? Let me tell you. And at the end of the day, I understand. progressive versus conservative, because you know what? There's always more than one way to look at how to solve situations. Now, back 20 years ago, you can have some sensible debates about what's the best approach to solving problems.
It's too emotional now for people.
Now it's not. It's no more conversation about what's the best approach. You know what the conversation is about? He's uglier than me. He's worse than me. She's worse than me. She's woke. She's this. She's racist. She's that. And it's nothing about what kind of solution am I bringing to the problem.
Right.
My idea of solving this problem is blah 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 blah. I can't. How can I solve the problem if I'm not even talking about it? And then here's the thing. The thing that I liked even back then was understanding. Like right now, Scott, if I show you my hand and ask you what you're looking at, right? You're going to say, yeah, I'm looking at your hand. But the reality is not quite, because the hand has two sides. What you're seeing is part of my hand. Mm-hmm. And so that means that if you have one perspective, you're seeing part of the problem. What about somebody else that may be even living it? Mm-hmm. They have a perspective that they bring. And so you want those diverse perspectives to be in conversation, because that's when you can get a more comprehensive understanding of what the problem is that we're looking at. And when we have a more diverse understanding or comprehensive understanding of the problem, guess what we can come up with?
Solution.
The solution.
But see, that's the message. That's the message you preach on, because
there you go. Not based on politics.
No.
Right, but based on bringing people together that you might not even agree with.
That, and you talked about the homeless. You talked about people being able to get into trailers, into just camps somewhere to where mm-hmm. I think no American should be hungry. No American should be without health care. Yep. And no American should not have a roof over their head. We are the richest country.
And not be able to vote.
We are not be able to
determine
which is our number one
leads our communities, who lead our state, who lead our country.
But to me,
especially because here's the irony. Because remember, Florida has this rule that says if you have a felony conviction, that you actually lose the right to vote for the rest of your life. It did. It did. Let me tell you, if it wasn't for what we did with Amendment 4, there wouldn't be an alternative. Now here's the deal, right? But we just elected someone with a felony conviction. You see what I'm saying? See the irony here? And if it wasn't for the liberal laws of New York, he may not have even been able to be on the ballot here in Florida. And there was nothing that the governor could do about it, because that was a state charge.
That's a whole nother.
You see what I'm saying?
Because I think the liberal laws in New York is the only reason he actually has a felony conviction.
No, not because of the liberal laws. Because of the way it was defined. The people who, and that's the reality, the people who created those rules that they end up bringing them to court on. That is different. See, here's the thing.
The political lawfare.
Not the political law, but the political actors. You got to understand something, right? Anybody could take something good and use it for bad.
And they did.
Right? So as far as when we talk about laws across this country, we have laws for a reason. We understand that, right? To keep some type of sanity in our communities. The problem is how people use or abuse those laws. Let's focus on that. Mm-hmm. But don't say it's the problem is the law. The problem is not the law.
I'm talking about weaponizing lawfare against politicians.
So that's a problem. That's a whole different subject. But let me go back to what I'm saying, though.
Is it though?
Why not? It has been. Because guess what? And here's the irony of this country has had political prisoners for how long now? And what is the term of a political prisoner?
So, and I had mentioned this to you, and I'm going to mention it again. So here's my thing. I want to get your insights on this, because this is valuable. But I said, all of this came to be from 2016, when the whole chant was "lock her up, lock her up." And my man, the only time I ever saw Trump take his foot off the gas was when he didn't. He was like, well, maybe they'll have be a little bit more peaceful with me if I don't win, or if I don't, it's not right to do. Boy, did they come after him. And now everything that's happening, everybody's like, why? Oh my God!
But guess what then? So now what we're in now, we're not in a solution state now.
We're not.
We're in a tit for tat escalation state and
retaliation state.
Here's the whole thing.
It's a retaliation state.
And this is one of the things that I used to tell people when we won Amendment 4, and I told people that we showed that love win the day. This is what I said. Martin Luther King said, you can't drive out darkness with darkness. You can't drive out evil with evil. Right? You can't drive out hate with hate. Right? But love can actually break that up. Right? And here's the thing. When you respond to violence with violence, you just perpetuate more violence. When you respond to hatred with hatred, you perpetuate more hatred. And so even what you said was that he showed mercy and took his foot off the gas, right? But that mercy was not extended to him, right? Here's the thing. Getting into this retaliation mode, all it does is just further escalate everything and exasperate the problem. Somebody has to be the bigger person and say, you know, I'm not going to repay evil with evil. I did you a solid by showing you grace. I mean, think about it. Let's go back to Jesus. How many times have people spat in the face of Jesus and he still forgave them? How many times have we, right, rebuked him? How many times have we, done the wrong thing and he still forgave us, right? And so if Jesus' response to us was the way that we want our politicians to respond to the other side, man, we will all be some dead cats right now.
So let's talk about 2026. Florida governor. I know you want me to be your lieutenant governor, man.
What do you mean?
If you run, man,
that's a long way from happening.
Why though? Hey, it better not be.
Listen, you got to be crazy to run for governor in this state.
Oh my God,
it's a crazy fight.
No, but why? Why would anybody want to put themselves under such interrogation? I've been in the entertainment business for 36 years. Real estate makes entertainment look like we're in kindergarten. Politics makes us look like
you're still in the womb.
We're in two.
You're still in the womb.
That was even better than what I was going to say. I was going to say 2-year-old.
Yeah, today's
still in the womb, man.
Is crazy. But you know what? But guess what? Guess who created that? Who helped create that environment?
You can't blame Trump for that.
No, we did.
I know.
We did.
I thought
you know why? You know why? Let me tell you why. And here's the irony of it.
I'm not sure you're going to blame Trump. Like, he gets blamed for everything.
No.
Not with you, though.
Actually, he gets some credit for some stuff. But here's the deal.
I want to hear that.
Let me tell you, as it relates to a lot of this, even animosity and these tensions, we actually created that with our politicians. You know why? Because we actually, somewhere along the line, you got to remember, man, that we had power, right? Understand this. And we had to give up some of this power in order to live together in the community, right? And so we acquiesce some of our power.
When are you talking? Give me
I'm talking to the beginning of time. We said, okay, listen, you are God's creature. You have all these rights. You can do whatever you want, however you want. But you realize that if you do that, then you won't be able to live together with me and Mark and whoever, because if everybody can do whatever they want, whenever they want, right, then there is no cohesion there, right? And then if we don't stick together, they got wolves and evil things out there that seek to destroy us, and so we have for protection. And so in order to live in a community, we gave up some of our God-given rights to form a union, to form a government, right? And what we did we had to hire some people to manage, right, the governance of what we created, right? Because we gave up our rights, right? And so we started picking and say, okay, we're going to have you go up and represent us for a minute. We're going to have you go up, whatever. And so we elect these people to represent our interests, right? And they were public servants, right? They served us. But at some point, the thing got switched around. Because let me tell you, what job you're a businessman, what successful business do you know to where the boss has to beg an employee to do something, and even when the employee don't do it, that employee gets a raise or a promotion? Right. What successful business do you know that happens to? It doesn't happen, right? But we're the only one, when you look at a politics, because we have given up way too much power to politicians, and we put public servants on pedestals, and now they become the boss and we become the servants, right? And when you have that formula, things get mixed up. And now because we've done that,
all politicians forget that they're working for us.
And guess what?
Right.
Now, who they're working for? They're working for the party now.
Right.
No longer for you, but for the party.
Because
whether it's Democrat or Republican, they're going to do what the party tells them to do, and not what you tell them to do. And now, guess what? And so to keep us from getting pissed off, they said, and by the way, look at that ugly guy over there. Look at that gay guy over there. Look at that immigrant. Matter of fact, let me put the word illegal up in front of it so you'll have no empathy. So you won't even see their humanity.
Right.
And that's where, guess what? When I could make fun of alligators eating up human beings, right? And I could put it on a t-shirt and sell it and make a lot of money, right? Where we have no love or compassion for another part of human life, another creature that God created, which makes them, if we believe that God created us, our brother and sisters. Right? And so at the end of the day, we have to bear some of that responsibility for elevating our elected officials so high that they now take on the role as the king instead of the servant. We're the boss. We should be the boss. That's what this country's about.
Yeah. We
elect people to do what we want them to do. And when they don't do it, if your employee don't do what you tell them to do, what you do? You fire them. And we haven't fired our people. We have promoted them even further.
So what are you going to do to change it, man?
Right? What am I going to do? No, I'm going to tell you what needs to be changed. I'm not in a position to do anything. What's
your solution?
So I think the solution to this, to be totally honest, is to demand more and to actually reimagine what a public servant is. You have to reimagine that, right? And at the end of the day, I don't want to hire somebody that the only thing they're doing is making me hate my neighbor, my next door neighbor, or wake up every day afraid of my neighbor, right? I want to hire somebody in our community that finds ways to bring me and my neighbor together. Listen, you ready for this?
Hey, this sounds
check it out. Hear me out. So I want him to find ways to bring me and my neighbor together without it having to cause a catastrophe to do so.
Wow, wait. That sounds like common sense. That sounds like you just preached common sense.
Common sense. And everybody has that.
No, everybody does not.
Okay, well,
everybody does not.
All political preferences have that, and even non-political preferences. You can find let me tell you something. Just like you can find ignorance anywhere, you can find common sense anywhere. But man, let me tell you, you see this flag back here? I love the flag, man. I really do. You know, and I have a flag on my truck, right? You know how my flag is on my truck?
Talk to me.
Upside down. You know why?
It's not like an upside down cross, is it?
No, it's up. My flag is upside down.
Why?
Why? Because when I was in the military, one of the things I learned was back in the Western era, right? Mm-hmm. At the forts, whenever you see a flag flown upside down at a fort, that means that fort is in distress. What happens is, for instance, if the Indians get ready to overrun the fort, then they would lower the flag and then turn it upside down and put it back up, because what happens sometimes is that the Indians would overtake the fort and then they would put on the soldiers' clothes, and then when the scouting party comes back in, everything's looking normal. They're seeing what appears to be soldiers walking around, and they'll walk right in or ride right into an ambush. And so what the military did was, okay, this is our way, because the Indians don't know the significance of it. We'll just fly the flag upside down, so that way anybody on the outside coming into the fort would immediately see, oh no, the fort is under distress. Those are probably Indians that are disguised, and then they would act accordingly.
So by doing so, you're preaching.
I am. So when I'm the reason that the flag is upside down is because our great nation is under distress. It's under distress. We've got neighbors fighting neighbors, hating neighbors, right? You got this mounting escalation. You see it in the reapportioning of congressional seats, and one state do one thing, and the next state do. It's always like one side do one thing, the other side kind of move.
Around.
You got these moves around the crime. You got these moves around immigration, and this political machine has taken over this great nation, right? When the political machine was once, I think, a mechanism to engage in debate or discourse around how to identify and solve problems, it is now transformed into this ugly monster of division and destruction and death in our country. And it has taken over our fort, and our fort is in distress, right? And that's why I fly that, because at the end of the day,
I appreciate that opinion, but
you pull the politics out of a lot of this stuff, man, we're coming to solutions real quick.
But my question,
real quick.
You can't find anything positive, man?
Yes. That's what I'm telling you. It's a lot of positive. Every time you turn around, that's why I'm filled with joy. And I can smile. Yeah. Right? You know what? Let me tell you. I look at you and I found something positive.
Well, thank you.
You know, bro, let's be real. We may have different political opinions. We may. But guess what?
Oh, we've been buddies since day one.
We've been like, bam. You know, we connect along the lines of humanity.
Because
and I see your honesty. I see your sincereness.
We can handle the conversation.
There you go. And so that's
There's
a positive
certain mutual
thing.
friends of ours that will never be asked on this podcast, and some are a little frightened or think. I'm not saying any names.
Yeah.
Some are. So I'm not going to help you boost your pockets. I'm like, I'm helping you, man.
Bro, listen.
I said we're getting there, but at the end of the day, there's so
that's a positive thing, though.
Let's get back to that. There's a lot of positive, and Trump gets beat up on a national level. Trump gets beat up.
Yep.
Where he shouldn't, because he's doing, I think, amazing things. But you know, the division. I agree with you on the division. On a state level, I think DeSantis handled the hurricane crisis. I think he was has been a phenomenal leader with that. You know, Sanibel Island and all of that just leveled. I mean, my man stayed poised, stayed military, stayed focused. I think he did good. I think he did great. I like the guy. A lot of people hate him. I don't know. He whatever.
I think, at the first, let me tell you. So let me be the first to tell you on this show, right?
Good.
I learned in recovery that you hate the disease, not the person. And so I could honestly be on your show right now and tell you, look at you in your face and tell you, I love Governor Ron DeSantis as a human being. I may not agree with everything that he does, but you'll never hear me say I hate him.
No.
Because he's a child of God.
That's right.
He's a human being that's
deserving
of dignity and respect. And I could tell you that I love him and I want the best for him. I could say that. That's why I'm saying I never looked at fighting with governor. No, he made decisions based on what he thought.
I didn't mean to use the word fighting. I was reading some articles and I'm like, man, why? Yeah, he was being a little hard on you.
Listen, let me tell you, he was being extremely hard. Cause listen, let me tell you something. And I'm gonna be honest with you.
And that was
how many people you know? Or matter of fact, you should. This is a challenge for your viewers. And if any of them could get this right, you're gonna probably get them a new car, right? You're gonna say that, right?
Don't say that. Listen, I didn't say nothing.
Hear me out. How many of your viewers can find a person living in Florida, right, that has been named one of the 100 most influential people in the world by Time Magazine, been named a MacArthur Genius Fellow, been Floridian of the Year by the Bob Graham Institute, been Central Floridian of the Year, and been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. Now, you find me one other person in Florida that has all those things right now.
Okay.
All right? And so let me tell you something. If I'm not deserving of a partner, who the hell is? Right. Who the hell is? Right? And
so that's what it was based on.
That was
you were trying to get a pardon.
There you go.
You were trying to get it
right. And so here's the deal. Challenge your listeners to find one person in Florida that had all those accomplishments, that was homeless and addicted to drugs and getting ready to jump in front of the train. They can find one other person, you'll buy them a new car.
Well, have you sold your rights yet? Can I get first right of refusal? Because I think this might have just gone from an interview to a documentary for real, man.
I'm saying, listen.
I mean, obviously you could do movie, but documentaries, people just gravitate to that. And at the end of the day, Desmond, you're a good guy, man. I mean, you're a good guy. You're passionate about what you believe. Your wife is doing amazing things. I appreciate your time on the Messina Connection. I think this conversation was just amazing. I'd love to have you back.